You are so incredibly blessed to be in the presence of Dannion Brinkley. Yeah. I've been seeing Dannion for 20 years. I still love every talk I see. They're not only fun and playful, as you can already feel. Dannion has such wisdom, and he shares from his experiences. He's been doing this for over 50 years. He's written best-selling books. Stay by the Light, Secrets of the Light. If you all don't have his books, you definitely want to get his books. They inspired me in the late 80s. So Dannion's going to be sharing with you about, and especially his work with Twilight Brigade, working with the veterans, and that there really is no death. But I'll let him tell you about that, because this man has had near-death experiences and a death experience 3 or 4 times, 5 times. It keeps growing. And he's learned so much from the other side that he's here to share that light and wisdom with us. So let's all open our hearts and give the most loving, warm welcome to Dannion Brinkley. It's the best hugs. Get a hug.
Okay, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Conscious Life. Welcome to coming and taking some time out of your life to care about the time in your life and where we are and why we're there. My particular part in this is the most grounding. As you experience the rest of this weekend, let's let what I'm talking about be the grounder, the thing that grounds it, instead of the elusive concept that we think of as death. Let's think of it in a broader perspective. One, and the broadest perspective that we could put it in would be the truth. It ain't gonna happen. I wish every one of you sons of bitches would die. I mean, I wish so bad that you would die. But guess what? It ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It isn't going to happen. So what happens at that point if that's true? Look how long forever got to be. But yet forever is a really a long time if you're going to be alive forever, everybody. You can think about it. So we have to ground ourselves in the fact that whatever anybody told you was going to happen, when or why you died, and the reasons they told you what was going to happen, when and why the reason you are going to die is suspect. It's suspect. Why? Because of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, so many of us come back. It is not some miracle. It is not at Lourdes. It's not contemplating your belly in Nepal. It's modern medicine's understanding the physio-electro nature of reality. Physio-chemical, electro, how you operate as a being. We don't wonder anymore about whether you are an operating being. We don't wonder. That's not a question anymore. Okay? That you're not an electrical being. And to not recognize that and to not understand that is how you will miss so much about the opportunities that exist in the next 3 or 4 years. The opportunities. So when you look at it from an electrical point of view, and you start to look at it, here's the greatest crisis that will occur. You begin to wake up parts of you that lie dormant because the information has no system or methodology to incorporate in your patterns. You think you're physical, and you think what keeps you going are chemicals, nutrition, whatever pharmaceuticals sell you. All that's nonsense. You're an electrical being. Take a breath. Stay with me. All of you getting real on me. We don't get here, everybody. we can't build on the value of what happens next. Because when you stop for this moment and realize you live in an electrical universe, you live in something called the atmosphere, which is connected to something called the stratosphere, which is connected to something called the ionosphere, with two subspheres. And when you have to stop and think that air is electrical, it's a pretty hard jump. That air is electrical. Proton, electron, positive, negative, neutral. And you say, well, how can that possibly be? What you do then is you go to the patent office, go on the computer to the patent office, and look up weather modification patents. And of the 168 weather modification patents that you will find me one other than cloud seeding, which is an ion particle discharge, cloud seeding, that is not completely written in electrical terms. So we're electrical beings. So how I get to be such an authority to tell you that you're not going to die and that you're going to be an electrical being, most of you, how many people don't know me? I am more fun than you can possibly imagine. I've been dead so many times, it's like a comedy routine. And every time I get up, I get funny. And why? If you ain't gonna die and you don't go to hell, and if anybody was going to hell, it was gonna be me. Well, they done missed a chance at the kid. So mine is not maybe I stubbed my toe, everybody. Not maybe I fell over on my bicycle and had a near-death experience, because everybody's had a freaking near-death experience now. You know, everybody. Well, I had a near-death experience when it did not have a name. Raymond Moody had not coined the phrase NDE. So here I am, some hayseed asshole from South Carolina, tough guy, ex-Marine, shut up, I'll hit you in the face. And realizing that I was a spiritual being with nowhere to go, no choice, no option. And to watch my life pass before me in a 360-degree panorama. To watch it from a second person point of view as though I was my own best friend. The spiritual sense of humor. Because if you're looking at your life from a friend's point of view, if you're doing too well, they're gonna bring you back down to put your feet back on the ground. And if you're doing too bad, they're gonna put their arm around you and cheer you up. So to see your life from that best friend's point of view is, to me, grace, divine graciousness. Okay? And then you're going to literally become every person that you ever encounter. And you're going to feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. Nobody gets away with anybody. Who judges you? You do. Are you a very harsh judge? We'll see. We'll see. This is how it happens, everybody. Not all that other stuff you hear about. Why? I was struck by lightning and dead for 28 minutes, which led to open heart surgery in 1975. On September 17th at 7:05 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, I was struck by lightning talking on the phone. 1989, March the 30th, I had open heart surgery from complications from being struck by lightning because all the scar tissue and damage on the inside. 1997 rolls around and I collapse into cardiac arrest with 4 subdural hematomas exploding in my brain and an aneurysm. None of these times am I supposed to live through it. None. And then in 2018, dropped dead Had to have open heart surgery because of scar tissue, as the scar tissue was healing on the backside of my heart. It was disrupting the muscle's ability to electrically beat that part of my heart. I was going into heart failure. Well, that's not as big a deal. I did that 3 months ago, and I went over to, I either had to go back in the hospital and go through all the rigmarole, waking you up at 3 o'clock in the morning to see if you were asleep. And taking blood tests, and urine samples and blood. I just went over to Sandra's and Michael's and got in the EES system and stayed there for like 3 days. And then I went up to the one on the hill, the place in Summerlin, and I stayed in there like 3 days. Saved myself about 40 grand. Got better. Why? Because we're electrical beings. So what I'm standing here telling you today is this. What is the cultural legacy of the near-death experience? And why can we look at it as a cultural legacy? We can look at it as a cultural legacy because of this. Raymond gave it a name 50 years ago. So it's the golden anniversary of the term near-death experience. I knew Raymond for 20 years. I worked with Raymond for 20 years. I drove the term near-death experience into mainstream America. It was me. I made Raymond do it. I had to force that. I don't know if you guys know any psychiatrists. I love the Rain Man. That's what I always called him, the Rain Man. Lord have mercy. He's sad. His little heart's all broken. People talk bad about him. All his friends are dead. Aristotle, Plato. I put over that for 20 freaking years. So we now have a time we can look back at it. So what I decided to do in these next few moments so that you can ask me questions is tell you what I believe is the cultural legacy of the near-death experience. Number one, the whole relationship with you and death has dramatically changed if you have sense enough to look at this phenomena called the near-death experience. It happens under clinical situations. Everybody's got a story that they say is a near-death experience because the near-death experience is mainstream. It's as mainstream as anything gets. It's mainstream. Doctors, nurses, there is no question whether people are being resuscitated. That makes all the other stories you've been told not true. How you're going to die, where you're going to die, what's going to happen when you're going to die, what are the reasons you're going to die. Well, the panoramic life review tells you every bit of that. You see your life pass before you in a 360-degree panorama. Watch it from a second-person point of view as though you were your own best friend. And then you literally become every person that you ever encounter, and you feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. Nobody gets away with anybody. And if you think somebody gets away with something, then you're a fool. You will face you. And like we said earlier, who's the harshest judge? Who can judge you more harshly than you? And who would be the most honest with themselves than you? So whenever people tell you about when you're going to die, why you're going to die, what you're going to die for, who it is, and all of that, the first thing you think about it is, why are they telling you that? Why are you telling me this? Why? So you see what the motive is. See you growing up, take a breath, and breathe. You got shifted gears. Didn't you feel yourself shift gears? Answer me. Yeah. Didn't you feel yourself shift gears? Sure. I can detect those waves because I set it in motion when I talked. When I first opened up, I set an intention, a value, a purpose of what we were doing. And I will hold that energetic pattern, which allows me access to yours. Everything I do, anybody can do it. There's no problem about it. We're just all the same. So when it was shift, I was proud of it because it shows how we gear down, how we measure ourselves, just like we're doing here at this CLS, and to reacquaint and reignite and know that you're by yourself, not alone in what people think we were crazy. But you got two presidents talking about frickin' UFOs in the last 2 days. You got one saying there are some, but he didn't know where they were. And you got another one that's the present president saying, let all the information out. Well, we don't know what's gonna happen with that. But this is what you're talking, so what does that tell you? We're being set up. If two presidents are talking about something, then if it all is really true, what happens to the Jesus story? What happens to the Pope? This is all happening in our lives today. These are not future events. We're living in them, and we must make conscious decisions in our hearts and our minds about them. So as we do that, as that wave of energy passes, we are caught in it. So the cultural legacy of the near-death experience. First, nobody's going to die. It's the biggest bunch of nonsense. It's like climate change. It's the biggest bunch of nonsense. It's nonsense. You're not going to die. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to die in any way you've ever been told it's going to happen. And for none of the reasons you've ever been told it happens. It's not freaking true. How do I know? I've been dead so many times, it's like a freaking comedy routine. I kill myself every 10 or 15 years just to keep from being bored. Let me ask you something. The guy that's been dead, I'm not talking about maybe dead, I'm not talking about near dead. I'm talking about freaking dead. And the last time I was dead was in 2018. And I was dead twice because I had to be clinically resuscitated because I went into heart failure. It's not poems I'm telling you about. It's a real person. Looking at it from both sides, and I have more than 90,000 hours at the bedside. I've been with 2,017 people going from this world to the next, and 358 taking their last breath. Who does anybody think they are when it comes down to understanding the conversation I'm having? Better than me? I don't know them. So you're not going to die. So you have to construct a whole new paradigm for the value of your life, other than hoping Jesus or whoever's going to come save you from yourself. I don't know how in the world you think somebody can save you from you. It's ridiculous to even think it. I'm going to come save you from yourself. How crazy is that? And he's in heaven. And the fool drops dead on us on a regular basis. I mean, think about Jesus. Anybody can turn water into wine is already a friend of mine. It's all us, everybody. It's not something outside. It's us. And all that parable says is love thy neighbor as thyself and do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And that was the message. That whole I can't wait for another 2,000 years till we kill enough or murder enough or rape enough or destroy enough till Jesus gets mad enough to come back and fights the demons. Does that make sense? It does not make sense to me. Where I got to my biggest crisis about it was when I was in like the 9th or 10th grade. I knocked out my biology teacher. You know, I was a little hyper-strung. He grabbed me by the ear, and I'm left-handed, and he grabbed me by my right ear, so I had a clear shot. So I was like 13. So I had to go to the Royal Ambassador's weekend for wayward boys. holy roly, you know, when you get to talking about the Baptists down there, okay, the Baptist church down there, people say, you just said, well, Dannion, what was it like? I said, what did tell you like about a bunch of holy roller Baptists? They come out and they say, Jesus God, please come save these savage heathens from their evil way. Don't let them wear lipstick. Don't let them dance. And please save these evil boys from the original sin. Well, I knew right then who had invented evangelical Baptist. He was a person who had the patent on preparation age. Can you imagine what that boy had to go through after he finished preaching? Can you imagine? So they tell me I'm guilty of the original sin. So I'm interested. I thought it was for knocking out the teacher. You know, I was naive. I didn't know I was there for what some Arabs was doing in the desert 5,000 years ago. And I was guilty of what two Arabs was doing in the desert 5,000 years ago. All right. Well, what were they doing? Well, the female Arab was talking to a snake. Now I'm listening to this. Now, how many women you know is going to stand around and talk to a freaking snake? And the snake is trying to get her boyfriend to eat an apple so he would know he was naked. And I'm guilty of that. I knew these some bitches was all crazy. I didn't have to have a near-death experience to know that was nuts. So here's where we come to number 2 in the cultural legacy. 95% of everybody who has one of these experiences says they watched their body. I am one of those. They observed and watched their body. 3 of the 4 experiences I've had, I was floated above. During the brain surgery one, I stood at the end of the bed, watched them put my head in this cage, you know, and screw the bolts in, and watched them put my head in this cage. I'll tell you what's funny is when they crack in your ribs to open up your chest. That sound, you could hear it halfway down the hall in the hospital. I mean, trust me, I know. Okay, so when you hear a person saying, this is the thing that I have not seen and had to be controlled for us not to be aware of. When you think about this, when you see the person that says they were lying on the bed, they saw them lying in the car wreck, I floated above my body, I saw this, I saw that. The question is then, who is the observer? Who is the observer that's seeing that body that they are completely separated from? Who is it? That's the person I'm interested in knowing. That's the person I'm interested in interrelating with. Because I have one of those too. I know I'm not this body. I can make this body do stuff that it can't hardly stand itself. I can force it to do things because I understand the value of divine law and how it operates. You know, you don't go through as many life reviews as I've been through and not catch on. Even a fool gets wise. You don't have to kill me after the 34th time. I bet you I'm interested. I got more than $1 million in this education, kid, folk. So when you look at it from that point of view, we are not this body. And you have to look at it from that point of view, or you will not see it. You will be forced based on 666, like the Antichrist. That's carbon. If you look at what 66 means in the periodic table, that's carbon. So what are you made of? Carbon. So what is the threat? Physical. You are a threat to you because you think you're physical. When you're not. You're electrical. Breathe. Come on. The only time the truth hurts is if you haven't heard it too long. Come on, breathe. We're in a place where all these feelings are free. And everybody thinks like us or has aspirations to believe like we believe. And when we hear everybody in here searching for something that opens their heart, very few people come to find something to give themselves control over someone else. I'm not saying it's not here, but I'm saying there's so little of it that you can open up your heart a little wide. You can open up your presence a little wider and feel, hear what people are thinking and thoughts and what to do. And so number 3, the cultural legacy is that you are an electrical being. And when you start to just stop for a moment and you think about that, think about it like this. You have 3 billion cells. 3 billion cells. And according to a lot of research, a lot of EES and Michael and what Sandra's doing, every one of those cells has to have between 70 and 90 millivolts of light or current, millivolts. What makes a cell work? Electricity. How many cells do you have? 3 billion. Think of this. Every one of those cells are talking to every other cell. How do we know? We can record the conversations. How are they speaking to each other? Electrically. Why are they speaking to each other electrically? So that you can stay alive. Electrically. Another point. How many times a day does your heart beat? Between 94 and 104,000 times. So 100,000 times a day. Your body has to create what? I think I'm close on this. There's a whole nother way you equate the strength of the power inside the heart. But it's like 0.45 millivolts or 0.045 millivolts. The body 100,000 times a day has got to produce that much electricity because the heart, which everybody in here knows, that little tiny thing is not all that pumps that blood. Your heart is that big. You think that that little thing is pumping all that 5 quarts of blood, 5 pints of blood through your body at the rate it is doing it? That's nonsense. You would have to use your calves to set up a toroidal field. So the field of energy that it's operating in is essential to the movement of the fluid. I think it's between the surface tension. How do you diffuse the surface tension so the fluid moves faster? Not sure about that, but I think that's what it is. So listen to what I'm saying about how electrical we are. Breathe. Okay. The next trick. How many people wish that they could spend time with their God while they're physically on the earth? That'd be everybody. Put your hands up. Okay, so fact. Every time you take a breath and they fill those 8 sinus cavities, you are divinely connected. You breathe in and you stop. Divinely connected, and then you breathe out. So every time you take a breath, you are divinely connected through those sinus cavities, so wrapping around the pineal gland and resonating outward dimensionally and wherever it's supposed to connect to and hang, based on how you psychologically set up what I call the pros of the attitude of where you want to go and why. We all think like I'm doing what I'm describing to you. Every one of you do what I do. You do it consciously or you do it subconsciously. I'm conscious about it because there's no space in the range of how my feelings are, equal to my knowledge base about death and life and love, those kinds of art forms, frequencies embedded, how they function. What is the law? What is the nature of the law when you look at the aspects of those things? Take a breath. So knowing that you're an electrical being, you must change into that mindset. And why? For this reason. There is a shift that's coming, and it's happening now. They're calling it solar flares and all of that kind of stuff, but it's coming. And what it is neutrino bombardment. And the fact that you can look this up on NASA, or look it up on your weather site, and ask how neutrinos are affecting your body. How does a neutrino bombardment affect your body? Neutrino, one of the smallest known physical substances there is. And look what it says. And then look up and see if there are neutrino bombardments going on. And the one they had a week and a half ago, they don't understand how the power grid stayed up. They don't even understand how it did it. Some kind of shielding mechanism somehow, but they don't know how it did it. We're going to become that we're electrical, everybody. And I think the most important point is to put that in the value of who you are. Okay, because it'll make you so much more aware of how healthcare is being distributed into the United States of America. Breathe. Come on, stay with me. Get some really funny stuff in there. What are they going to do? Kill us? Well, big freaking deal. That ain't nothing. Oh. So once you realize that you're an electrical being, then what are the pathways? What pathways do you choose? And then you put yourself in a ranking. I say that you're a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose. I say you were chosen to come here at this particular time, and you chose to come here at this particular time with two completely separate missions. One is to be divinely yourself, and the other is to adventure into things that you think are impossible for you to figure out how to get out of. When you're a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose, you're a little arrogant. So when Gabriel, the archangel, comes up on you, you know you got a couple of cloud shots in you. Gabe puts his arm around and says, listen, Danny, let me ask you something. Do you think you can pretend you're a physical being for 24 hours a day, for 7 days a week, for 80 freaking years? To pretend you're a physical being, do you think you can do that? Yeah. Think about how you got here. Because you're doing that right now. You're doing it right now. You're pretending to be. Let me tell you who you are. Your voice is all of you that is here. There is nothing else here that is you except your voice. And when you let out that half a breath and you leave, what leaves? The freaking sound of your voice. Your vocal cords are there, all the chemistry's there, all the bio makeup is there, all the energetic reactions are, all the compounds, the nutrients, everything. Your fingernails grow, or either that or your nails, your cuticles recede. It's one of those. But all of that's still there. What left? A half a breath and the sound of your voice. So who was really here? That body? That's you? It's still here. Where are you? See how crazy it gets when you've been dead, everybody? This is me thinking rationally at stuff people say. And I'm looking at it. They say, well, I have faith. Well, good luck with that. Well, I have hope. Yeah, well, think of this. Where did the term hope come from? It comes from the Greek parable about Pandora's box. What is hope? The final curse put upon man was the release of the curse, hope. And look at what it's become. Something we hold on to and cling to. But in its source, what's it based on? That hope is based on what? That a curse. Now that's funny. And we are completely freaking crazy. But what have we discovered today? We're not going to die. No matter what anybody tells you, and the reason you're not going to die. Like I said, I hope everybody burns in hell. I hope, I hope everybody dies 6 or 7 times. I hope they burn in hell. I hope all of that. Hope. Remember what I said? I hope. That's nuts. It's insane. So what is real? At the end of the panoramic life review, and it wasn't immediate, it was time for me to reflect on how can anybody be that hard and to plan it. It wasn't like spur of the moment I was going to get them. I might plot for 2 months. All that's just winding away in my brain, and I'm going to wind my way through it when I have the panoramic life review while I'm planning it. And when you think about it, when you know that that's the level of what you're going to experience in your life review, there'll be this question. This is my way of saying it. It comes in a lot of different ways. But if God couldn't come today and God sent you, in the life you just reviewed, what difference did you and God make? That's the only question. That's the only question. So let me answer it for myself. I got up from the dead. It took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself. I believe so much in what I talk about and what I say, I became a hospice volunteer. Because with what I knew and being an ex-Marine, I could bring comfort and support to veterans. I became a hospice volunteer at the VA. I've been a hospice volunteer for 48 years. I've been in the VA 44 years. I built one of the largest end-of-life care volunteer programs for dying veterans in American history, and I co-wrote the standard end-of-life care model that is presently used today for palliative and end-of-life care for the Veterans Administration. I am in the Federal Register as co-author. And I'm working right now with Michael and Sam in developing integrated programs using the energetic nature of reality applied to veterans. And we're targeting traumatic brain injury, which has a higher potential suicide rate than PTSD or other problems from war. So at 28 a day, killing themselves or thinking they're doing that, there is a chance that we can intercede and help some of them. So not only are we realizing that we're electrical, we're taking those moves and those plans of action and implementing them as a strategy to put in the largest healthcare program in the United States, which is the VA. And so I think that if God couldn't come today and God sent me, in the life I just reviewed, I made the world a safer place for veterans and their caregivers passing from this world to the next. Because when I came to the VA, they killed them in intensive care. There was no such thing as palliative, and there was no such thing as hospice. It's there now. And nobody can take that credit away from me. So when I look at if God couldn't come today, there's my story. That's why you should trust what I'm telling you. And most people always wait to get to the legendary prophecies of Dannion. If you don't know me, I wrote a book 470 years ago. Back in the Stone Age when got dinosaur footprints and shit. But I wrote in the probable possibilities of the future based on going through what I went through, which was this. I met a series of beings. People call them angels, some call them God, some call them disciples, some call them the great brotherhood. Everybody's got names for the crap. Bunch of light beings. I didn't die and I didn't go to hell, so it didn't really matter to me where I was. Think about it. I was paralyzed, burning, and on fire when this started. I was like drinking battery acid. I couldn't see when the lightning struck me and I was paralyzed. I could not move. My tongue is swelling in my mouth. I couldn't breathe and I couldn't get to the wall. I couldn't get to a place of safety because I didn't know what had happened. A bomb. I had no freaking idea. I couldn't get to it. And then all of a sudden I'm out of my body. I could see. I could move. I wasn't breathing. I paid attention to that because there was a pulse. It's like what your heart. There's a rhythm that you function in. You're aware of it when you cross over. Feel your rhythm. And then you harmonize with that rhythm. You know, like you get into the beat, you get into the rhythm, like people tapping their foot to the music. All of a sudden, then comes a pattern like a beat. Most people are met. If you're afraid or scared and you can't get them, comfort them up over here, it's because they haven't worked through the process. Everybody needs to know that the life has value. Everybody needs closure. How do you structure closure? You tell them something like this. We can't sit here and watch Jeopardy for the rest of your life. Life is about progress. And if you're not winning on Jeopardy and picking all the right words, then you're wasting your time and my time. Now you're going to have to do something. They're not going to be able to do anything. But if you listen to me, it'll be perfect. Because once they start, you start going back through their past. You start asking, well, what job did you have when you were a kid? Well, what did you do? Did you like it? No, did you hate it? Well, what would you want to do? Then all of a sudden they're going back and remember the panoramic life review? Then all of a sudden they're going back and revisiting their life. And they're reinforcing that it had value. It's really not progress. It's really review. And the other thing is permission. What's undone? What's left that I can help you finish? What? Let's get it down. Let's get it out. Let's talk about it. Who have you not talked to? But these are the kind of things that structure closure. Read. We're all here. We all know somebody or will very soon. If you're listening to me, you'll make the difference in their life. I've done this thousands of times. Thousands. And when people say, my religion is hospice. Well, wherever two or more gather in my name, so shall I be among you. I can say that that's where God keeps coming. Well, where two or more gather in my name, so shall I be among you. Well, there's that person going, and there's me. That's two. It up or shut up. Sooner or later, it will happen. So in my life, cosmic or non-cosmic, I have 18 times. I have seen miracles. I've seen the room fill up with beings. I've seen a being get up and be a little confused until they smile. You know, unacclimated till they smile. And of those 18, I would say there were 3 of them I would be suspect of. Because it was 4 o'clock in the morning, it was my 2-hour shift. We would go and we would do vigils for the veterans, and we'd stay with them to the last. Whoever was there, we'd pass it on, and it was early in the morning. I probably worked all day, but I can't stand here and tell you for sure that I had seen something like what I just described. But 15 of those times, no problem. Breathe. Every time you take that breath and you hold it, we're only reinforcing what we care about, what matters. So when I set up and use my little crystals, and what I set up in the beginning was about child trafficking. And what I wanted, the nature of the reality of the conversation, that our power and that focus, that if I touch your hearts and thoughts or reinforce something, that in the world where child trafficking is going on, more power is focused toward finding those children. So I want to thank you for helping me consciously do this. Help me consciously do it. Because if we stop right now, we take a couple of breaths and we hold it individually and let it out for that reason. That collectively we decide to stop in what we're doing and look at the value of life. And because if I've contributed anything, I'm asking. If I haven't contributed anything, I'm telling you to freaking do it. Well, that made me feel good. But that we are strong enough and brave enough and real enough to be strong enough and brave enough and real. So that we defeat child trafficking and it becomes the point of every day in this political year that a part of our lives is focused on defeating child trafficking. So let's do 3 breaths. Let's pull that breath in, hold it, and let it out. Focused on stopping child trafficking. Breathe it in. Hold it. Breathe it out. The power stops and whatever child feel us and hold us and be close to us now. Now let's do one for that child that it feels us, hears us, and is surrounded by our love. Breathe in. Yeah. Okay, let's stop for a second. All right, is there a question? Come on. Pick up something hard. Anything.
Tell me about your time traveling. It's my favorite part of your story.
Well, which one? The prophecies?
Boxes of knowledge. You went forward or backwards and then forward in time.
Well, that's the other side of the legend. Okay, the other side of the legend of Dannion. I wrote down these boxes of knowledge, what Paul and I call the boxes of knowledge, because when I went to the crystal city where I met these beings of light, they were giving me information. What they said was, if you keep doing the same things that you're always doing, this is your probable future. We have not changed. If you look in this book written 31 years ago, and Boxes of Knowledge was written in 1977. So let's say that this was written when I was dead. Okay, the part that's in here came from when I met these beings and they gave me this information. So let's just pull one out of the hat, okay? The vision reveals Israel as being spiritually hollow. They had a sense it was a country with strong government but weak morals. After Imagine came Israelis reacting to the world, reacting to Israel, reacting to hatred toward Palestinians. It was as though they were a nation and had forgotten about their divine drive or racial hatred. Here's the one that gets me.
What year was that you wrote that, and what's going on right now?
I wrote this in 1977. And let's find one that gets it even tighter. Okay. Hold on. All right, here we go. Then I saw a collage, the River Jordan, a settlement from Israel that was spreading into Jordan, and a map of what the country of Jordan was changing colors. As I watched this puzzling collage unfold, I heard a being speak telepathically to me and say, the country of Jordan will no more exist. Well, you start to think about that for a minute. Let's check the news today. Okay, this is from Al Jazeera. For decades, the alternative homeland, the notion that Jordan would become part of the Palestinian state was dismissed by Amman's diplomats. The kingdom is under threat because Israel is moving to occupy the West Bank. They've announced that they're going to seize control of the West Bank, which is Jordan. This was just the day before yesterday. Okay, Sunday's decision to transfer land registry authority to the Israeli Justice Ministry by erasing the Jordan and Ottoman Land Acquisition Act so that no one can build on the settlement and the Israelis can expand into that territory. The Jordanian politics says it's a symbolic of danger. Think about this. They've even named what they're going to name the capital of Amman. They even have in this a renaming of the capital of Jordan, Amman. And you stop for a moment and you think, when you hear Jordan, it's supposed to be ancient. Jordan was invented in 1948. So the British could pull back out of Israel. And they could pull back and pull out. This is all happening today. People who know the rise of Dannion in the COVID. I described COVID in, I can tell you how funny it is. Watch this one. The seventh box have a powerful image of an environmental destruction. I could see the world radiating energy. That was Fukushima. Telepathic, I hear voices say, we need to clean up the environment. It would start in Russia. I would see Russians, which became Gorbachev, clean up the environment when he created what was called the Green Cross. The Green Cross, a program to clean up the environment. I called it the environmental religion. I said it would become so much, it would be like an environmental religion. And then the one that hasn't come true is a battle between Russia and China. But let's try this one. This is box 12. The 11th box was gone and I was into the 12th box. It was a vision that addressed the important events in the distant future, the decade of the 90s. I watched a biological engineer from the Middle East form a way to alter DNA, create a biological virus that became used to manufacture computer chips. So when you hear computer chips and software, simultaneously put those together. The discovery allowed huge strides in science and technology. The REM experienced boom time as a result of this discovery, and computer chips or software produced from this process found their way into virtually every form of technology, from cats, airplanes, to vacuum cleaners and blenders. Before the turn of the century, the man would become among the richest. So rich that he held a stranglehold on the world's economy, computer chips, software. Still, the world reckoned him, since computer chip software had the design to somehow put the world on even keel. Microsoft. Gradually, he succumbed to his own power and began to think of himself as a deity and insisted on greater control of the world. With the ends of control, he began to rule the world. His method of rule was unique. Everyone in the world was mandated by law to have one of these computer chips inserted underneath his or her skin. It contained all the individual's information. The government agency wanted to know something, all it had to do was scan your chip with a special device. By doing so, it could discover everything about you, where you work, what you do, what your medical issue are, what your health care is, what potential illnesses you'll have in the future. There was an even more sinister side to this chip. A person's lifetime could be limited by programming the chip to dissolve and kill them with the virtual substance it was made from. Anybody heard anything about that lately? 1977. Now think about me 50 years ago. Think about me 48 years ago. I wasn't educated enough. This is direct quotes from this nifty notebook I wrote it down in. It took 2 years before I could walk or run. But when I put it down, he used the means, watch this, growing lifetimes were controlled like this to avoid the cost of growing old, of us growing old being placed on the government. Was also used as a means of eliminating people with chronic illnesses that were putting a drain on the medical system. People who refused to have this chip implanted in their bodies roamed as outcasts, and they could not be employed and were denied government services. How many of you in the last 6 months have gotten a real ID? Do you know you will not be able to go into a government facility without it? They're already doing it. I was just in Washington. Driver's license, ID, social credit. Look at what it's describing, social credit. Okay, think about it. When you stop to think about it, we're right in the middle of this shift in this change. And we're an active part of it. We're light bearers. You would come to hold a certain level of consciousness, a certain light and a certain attitude. I choose healthcare because healthcare is the system. The battle for the souls of humankind will be fought in healthcare. What is going to happen when people understand they're electrical? Your life changes at that moment. Okay, so when I gave you the example of atmosphere, stratosphere, ionosphere, this is reality, everybody. This is how it works. And if you look at it, you change and you don't have to do anything else. I mean, you'll want to explore certain other areas, but you don't have to do anything else. You just start down that path. It's just like looking at the energetic nature of your own reality. Then you begin to shift and change because you're held down thinking you're a physical being. It's nonsense. Utter, complete, and total nonsense. Like I said, you are your voice. So what is left to happen? Another pandemic. The project I'm on box 13. You know, if you wonder what Dannion Brinkley's doing, it's 31 years ago. 20 million of them later. I mean, so if they say 20 million people read this, that means an average of 2 other people read it. So that means I had an effect on 50 million people. Made a movie about me. Was I having fun being dead or what? But I was trying to make a difference. You know, we cannot face what's going to happen without understanding electrically who we are, or they will slip it in on you. Anybody who leaves me, gets on your cell phone, and looks up CRISPR. And when you look up CRISPR, a patented device that can genetically modify and program you like you were a piece of software, like you were your cell phone. You can be programmed just like your cell phone. Look up CRISPR. Look up CRISPR technology and see what it says about you. Okay, and believe this. I have seen 117 things that I wrote down. I've seen 109 of them. 2 I've never seen because I never could find them. I don't know if it happened. I can't. But I've watched 97%, 95, 6, 7% accuracy on what they told me was going to happen. Okay, so the electrical nature of it becomes this. When they start these implants, which all know what graphene oxide does, we've all seen the chips and how they were experimented, what would assemble, what wouldn't assemble. Okay, how G5 operates, how G6 operates. Okay, we're all seeing this. This is not something that we don't see. Okay, but when we're looking at it and we see it, then what is the most powerful thing that we do about it? You take precaution. You find shield blockers. There's a lot of bullshit stuff out there, everybody, excuse my Dutch. But there are types of EF blockers. There are types of systems that slows down that target. It slows it down. EES has them on their website. There are all types of people who have them. There's people in the booths that have them. You must slow that energetic pattern down. Okay, because remember this. The thing that they're going to use to try to control us, which is frequencies. Watch how all us old, I never was an old woo-woo guy, but watch all you old time woo-woos when you're supposed to have an aura, you know, and do you have an aura? No, you can't have an aura. No, it's not possible. It's just voodoo and silliness. Except there are 4 patents being applied. 4. 2 of them pharmaceutical companies. To use your energetic field, your aura, bioplasmic generated field, to transmit information, because 5G will only travel 4,354 feet. So you have to put a repeater every 4,354 feet. Or use you. You're an electrical beam. The more you stop today and pay attention to that, the more power you're going to gain no matter what. Because that time in that period is here. It's not somewhere in the far distant. It's happening now. And if you look at where our world is, if you look at where Israel and Israel is worrying about Iran, this is what bothers me, okay? They're worrying about Iran because it's some kind of ego trip. I mean, I don't understand it. When they better be worrying about Turkey. Anybody who looks at Erdogan, they know he thinks he's the Messiah. When he turned the mosque back into a mosque as opposed to a shrine for people to celebrate Islam, that was his announcing himself as the Najri. Anybody who understands the rebirth of the Ottoman Empire and how he thinks that that is the hold on is not seeing the game. And I look and see, I look and I watch, because if you mess with them, if Erdogan pushes Israel, Israel will attack. And remember, Turkey's NATO. So you want to know where the flashpoint is, everybody? I just told you where it is. Watch what happens. And it's Erdogan. He's the one building the coalition. Why? He wants the Ottoman Empire back. And he believes he's the Najri. Just things that you find in boxes of knowledge that you don't just blabber out, you know, because I don't want to contribute. The things that people say, Dannion, what's left? I don't want to be the person that contributes to that. I know what's going to happen, and I'll tell us, because you took the time, you spent your money, and you came to spend time with us. I don't mind, I will tell you. Who will you tell? Somebody you care about. It'll still be right. I'll still be right if they hadn't missed. So another question? Come on, everybody.
And you said the next 4 years, you know, electrical, whether it's a challenge. Is it a challenge or is it more?
Well, the challenge is understanding your electrical. Okay, because that means that when you understand, when they tell you they need to implant this, Alzheimer's, you need to implant, make sure you're taking the medicine. Okay, implant children. Here's what they'll do. They'll come at you and say everybody needs a wearable. Okay, because you got to monitor your health care, the children, checking your blood pressure. You're going to be grouped in it, just like they do PPAs and PPOs. They're going to group you in this, and then that system monitors everything that you do. Well, it's going to be like the mask. A 3-year-old is not going to keep on a wearable. They're going to tear it all to hell. And if I had one, if I could have sold it to somebody, I'd already tore mine off and sold it. I wouldn't care. What are they going to do? So what's going to happen is they're going to do a chip, and the chip will be a microdot. It'll be a microdot. It will be so small and it'll be so flexible. Okay, it's so flexible, and they'll put that in there because you have to have it. Because of vaccines, because of it going into government buildings. Why make it? And now the thing that was at the CES show about the palm computer. Whichever hand you are, and you don't, it was raised. It's not on your palm, it's raised up and you're touching it. Where is that? That's 2 years away. And it's a chip implant. But here's where you got to worry about, everybody. You can turn your freaking cell phone off. Who decides who turns off what? Who decides who turns it off? When? If it's a part of the integrated nature of your healthcare and a part of your healthcare plan that you already been inherited into now. So our job is just to outsmart that. We're not rebellious, we're just smart. So I like to tell people that I don't know what booth this is. And I don't know what's the deal on these things. Take a breath. Okay, so Mel brought these into my room and set them on the table. And I could feel an energetic pattern. And I said, what is this stuff? What is this? So I picked them up off the counter and I brought them. I don't know anything about them other than watching it move in certain angles. By moving them around in certain angles, I can feel different interactions. And I wouldn't tell you if I didn't, okay? So you have to ask Melanie where they came from and who had them, and if they ring or vibrate with you or resonate with you, I'd pay attention to them. And the fact that it's round, and it's not a pyramid shape, but it's a cone shape, which is how sound disperses itself. I can see how the coil could help with the crystal in it. And this looks like plant-based plastic as opposed to urethane or polyurethane.
Might be organized. It is a plastic. Yeah.
Say that word again, organized.
And they have.
Questions, come on, we got a couple minutes. Come on, everybody.
How would I go about, if I want to help veterans and, I know that all the work that you've done in the past, and I'm sorry, I don't know exactly the name of it, it's not.
Well, that began Brinkley Foundation.
Yeah. If I want to help in some way, how do I?
Smart, you wanna be really smart?
Yeah.
Why don't you go to the Veterans Administration, go to va.gov
Yeah,
and go to whole health.
okay,
Go to the whole health program of va.gov and match your expertise to one of the categories that's there. These are all integrative and alternative methodologies. And the government is going to spend $1 trillion outsourcing this to healers. They are seeing what's happening. Whole health is the way. Energetics is the gateway. And people who have skill sets, Reiki, people don't understand. You have Tai Chi, yoga, Reiki in the VA, and the margins of success and improvement are staggering. And I'm one of the co-founders of the whole health program. Because when I went to the VA, in my memorandum of understanding with the VA, clearly I put that if I could find complementary and integrative therapies that would help in palliative and end-of-life care, they would have to do a review of it. So they set up a whole review board in Washington, VA in Washington, in Washington, in Seattle. They set up a whole review board. They never did anything. They just took the information, okay? But nonetheless, it led to create what's called the whole health program. It's been my secret weapon. So you match yourself business-wise, program-wise to one of those modalities. Then you focus on studying whatever it is, being a part of whatever course. Usually the VA offers that same course. Then you're in the system. And when a caregiver is needed, that's taken the training, the no bed die alone training, then that's the person that gets referred to.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can make a difference. The only thing other than this is remember this, child trafficking.
Right.
Do not do, look, that's the source of their power. That is the lifeblood of the destructive system. We stop that. You know, think about it, everybody. This is important to me because when you realize that we bought, this is just my beef. We brought 35,000 children into America. We flew them in here. We picked them up at the airport. We moved them through Homeland Security. We moved them through Health and Human Services. And we supported the distribution of these children all over America, 35,000. Me and a group of people found 22,000. Because I know how to read federal contracts. I was a defense contractor, everybody. You know, I understand the government. And we found 22,000 of them. Now, when you hear their stories and know that this was a government operation and you're a Democrat, you need to think twice. And if you're a Republican, you're lucked out. But when you're doing this, remember, reality. Angiochrome, reality. Blood, reality. Organ transplants, a reality. Child prostitution, a reality. Breathe. Now watch. I just hit you with the hardest one. And look how cool the air is. Look at where we are. Breathe. See the lightness? Think about it. This is who we are. This is what we're capable of being and doing and holding a certain point. And you think that this is not heard and felt? You think I'd be doing it because I'm a practical joke? I'm a practical joke. You think I'd be doing it? I understand the law and the nature of the law. How can I say that? I can get up from the dead. I've gotten up from the dead. You want to see post-traumatic stress syndrome? Talk to my brother and sister about how many times they've come to tell me goodbye. My brother has this picture of me when I was dead the last time. He came in and took a picture of me. So every time he gets mad, he shows me that picture. So let's take a really deep breath. Clean out our lungs and open up our heart. And let's do these things for me. You've already held the level of the greatness of child trafficking. I mean, I would go so far as on Monday, I would call my congressman and my senator, tell them my name and tell them I'm against child trafficking. I'm against child trafficking. It's an election year, everybody. For every one of you that calls, that means there's 1,430 other people interested in the same subject. That's what that little kid sitting at that desk knows. So what if 3 of you call the same congressman? Scare the crap out of him. And we put it in the flow. That's power. I did a show called Nino. David Rodriguez, he's like a really funny guy. And 80,000 people responded on his show, responded to make those calls. And that's what forced Bobby Kennedy's hand to have to come out and say that they had found that those 22,000 and now another 3,300. When you hear those stories, we have to shift and change. And we have shifted and changed today in here. and I hit you with the hardest and the worst one, and you just smiled and got so light. So when you get outside, stop at everybody's booth. Go stop. Everybody made a mental, material, physical, and time constraint to bring this stuff for us to look at Christmas presents or Valentine's or whatever it is, something for somebody special. Stop and listen to those people and support those people. Make sure you make 3 new friends. You know, you make 3 new friends. Hello, who are you? You interested in death? Yeah, you like Dannion? Yeah, okay, well, let's talk that about it. Come on. And remember this, I love you so much. I can appreciate so much. I've been out here so long doing this. And when I see people who don't know who I am, I'm just so happy because I can tell some of my old jokes. I used to have some really good jokes. So now we're done. So let's once again take that deep breath and then let it out. And let's think about Robert Quicksilver and that beautiful creature that makes him sane. And let's breathe in and hold a breath for them, that our love and our hope and our aspirations, we can tie and be thankful to him for what he goes through to help create this. Breathe in, breathe out, and thank you, Robert. One last question.
Did you finish the story? How'd you come back? Did you decide to come back?
I keep sending me that.
So did they ask you to?
Nobody asked me nothing. I would wait.
I know you went to do the adding the fees to, was that the only time you got a message to bring back?
I wrote.
I know I didn't read the book, but
Never much, it's easy.
I mean.
I wrote 3 books. What happened, which is saved. What I was constructed. Then I wrote a piece, which was my attack plan. That was booked, that's 30 years ago. If you look at that book, if you look at that book from 30 years ago and you look at my life today, you'll see it's the exact same plan being executed. It's the exact same plan, page by page, is in that book. And then came Secrets of the Light because of caregivers. I knew what was going to happen when parents realized they killed their children. This is what was going to happen. That when they look at what happened in the course of what the pandemic was, and what it's going to end up when people understand how and what they were doing, that kind of crisis is going to drive emotions to the limit. So I had to write a book called Secrets of the Light, so people had a grounding place that if I'm going to be every person that I am, and I'm going to feel the direct results of my interaction between me and them, you think I'm lying to you? See, that was the most insane thing anybody could possibly believe, that I'd be standing up here lying to them. Because I won't be you, and if it's wrong, I'm hurting you, and I'm going to have to go through that. That monkey ain't dancing, okay? So I wrote Secrets so that there were things that people could lock in on, that no matter what was going on, there were these 7 truths they could depend on it, no matter what was happening to them. They could go to one of those truths and to depend on it. And then I put in there what was called the 4-fold path to power. Watch how easy this is. In order to have come here, in order to be able to be here breathing, you had to answer these 4 questions. And you had to answer them as fast as they were asked of you. You didn't have time to think about it. What is the value and power of love? What's that answer? Number 2, what is the value and power of your belief system as it supports the value of number 1, your love? Number 3, what is the value and power of the choices that you're making, believing that they are the right choices? Number 4, what is the value and power of your prayer skill set? Those are the answers. I can answer them. And so can you. So how far from you have you traveled? What's the value and power of your love? What's the value and power of your belief system as it supports the value and power of your love? What's the value and power of the choices that you make it, that you believe that they are the right choices? What's the value and power of your prayer system? And how does it affect the other? That's how you got here. You know those answers. You're circling back through life to get back to those. To get back to those. We are not complicated. The strict set of systems and rules that we operate, and innovation comes, and now the innovation is electrical. It's electrical dynamics. And always remember this. In the beginning, there was the word, the sound of your voice, and it said, let there be light. And if you look at your cells under an electron microscope, it's light. It's electrical, but it's light. When you look at a sperm cell hit an egg, a burst of light surrounds it. You can photograph it. This is the world we truly spiritually live in. This is who we truly spiritually are. We just got to focus on it. Or they will put things in you that you can't turn on or turn on. And they will do it for your, not for your safety or security, but for your health cost. Listen to what I tell you. All right, so I can quit and leave you guys alone. I'm sorry that I bored you for almost 90 minutes, but you know, take it like men and women. Thank everybody. I wish you'd ask more questions.